Welcome to Zoo Ball 2020. Live from the Houston Zoo, it's Moonlight Soiree, presented by Phillips 66. Please welcome the CEO of the Houston Zoo, Lee Emke.
Good evening, and welcome to the first ever virtual Houston Zoo Ball. I'm Lee Emke, and as CEO of the zoo, it's an honor to be with you tonight, even if we're apart. I want to begin by thanking our event chairs, Sarah and Randy Ortwine, auction chair Peggy Costiel, and after-party chairs Courtney and Zach Harmon. Their leadership has been invaluable in creating this reimagined zoo ball. I'd also like to thank Phillips 66 for being our presenting sponsor for the fourth year in a row. Every year, Zoo Ball raises vital funds to provide care for our animals, deliver engaging education programs, and save wildlife in Texas and around the world. But as you can imagine, tonight's Zoo Ball has taken on a new level of urgency as we strive to recover from the financial impact of COVID-19. From the start of this pandemic, our zoo has faced challenges unlike anything we've ever seen. At the same time, we're working harder than ever to fulfill our mission to connect communities with animals, inspiring action to save wildlife. During our program tonight, you're going to meet some of our animals and their keepers. You'll see how our zoo has grown into a hub for wildlife saving efforts. We'll recognize our honoree, Jane Bloch, for her decades of service to the zoo, and you'll be able to support your zoo by bidding in the auction and contributing to the live paddle raise, where every donation, up to a total of $100,000, will be matched. The funds we raise tonight are critical to the zoo's recovery. When we closed our gates on March 14th to help slow the spread of COVID-19 in our community, most of our revenue was cut off overnight. In the following days, we had to rethink how we connect our zoo fans with our animals. We pivoted to daily live streams featuring our animals and their keepers, and the response was simply amazing. Thousands of you turned in to watch an elephant bath, go behind the scenes of our vet clinic, and experience a sea turtle release. We received hundreds of uplifting comments and photos from families who made these live streams a daily ritual during the lockdown. With our closure, maintaining the high level of care we provide our animals became our top priority. Every animal received nutritious meals, enrichment, and veterinary care. When baby elephant Nelson was born in May with a life-threatening complication, our zookeepers and veterinary teams worked together to provide heroic, life-saving surgery. Today, Nelson is thriving alongside his herd. So despite the immediate impacts of the closure, we continued to look to the future of the Houston Zoo. I'm standing here in the beautiful new South America's Pantanal exhibit that opened in October. Thanks to the generous support of donors to our Keeping the World Wild Capital campaign, we were able to continue construction during the closure. Now, Houstonians can visit the Pantanal and experience its rich diversity of wildlife. The way this exhibit immerses guests in the Pantanal environment and our efforts to save wildlife there sets a new standard for the improvements that you'll see across the zoo in years to come. During these challenging times, we've never wavered in our efforts to protect animals in the wild. Here in Texas, we've continued to save Atwater's prairie chickens, whooping cranes, Houston toads, and sea turtles. We're supporting conservation efforts around the world by empowering wildlife-saving heroes to do their very best work. Throughout this difficult period, these partners have kept in touch with our Houston Zoo community to let you know how much your support means to them. We've been able to fulfill our mission during this pandemic only because of unprecedented outpouring of support. Since we started our emergency zoo fund, we've received nearly $1.5 million in contributions from over 7,000 donors across the country. I simply cannot thank you enough. I am deeply grateful for every gift that has helped ensure that our animals receive the very best care possible. However, we still face a significant budget shortfall this year, which is why this Zoo Ball is so important. If you haven't done so already, please grab your phone and visit bidpal.net/zooball20. There you can register for the auction, which ends at 9 tonight, and contribute to the upcoming live paddle raise. Thanks to an anonymous donor, the first $100,000 in contributions will be matched dollar for dollar. To start our program off this evening, we're going to get an up-close encounter with our amazing new giant river otters that live right here in the Poncinal exhibit. It's going to be a great night, and I'm glad to have you as part of this very special zoo ball. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Jay. I'm one of the keepers here for the giant river otters at the Houston Zoo, and we are here to talk about them. Giant otters are actually from South America, specifically in freshwater wetlands area. They can be found in the Amazon as well as the Pantanal. So giant river otters are considered a keystone species in the wild, which keystone species means that without those guys, they would actually impact the ecosystem quite a lot. It would actually not be the same ecosystem that it is today. And behind us, you will actually see the Pantanal exhibit. The really cool thing about this exhibit is it actually encapsulates all the different color schemes and greenage that you would see in the wild as well, even as far as detail as the water quality. It actually offers an opportunity for them to play, have many places to sleep, and also different viewing windows to see you guys too. So giant otters have some really awesome features. They have very dense fur, which acts like wetsuit for them, and then they also have web feet, which actually acts like when we wear flippers, it helps them propel much faster in the water and swim much more efficiently. Here at the Houston Zoo, we have two pairs of giant river otters. You will never see both pairs out together. However, behind us, we have Drew and Max. Max has a lot more white on his chest, where Drew has very little. Giant river otters can grow up to be about 6 feet long, and they weigh around 50 to 60 pounds. Drew and Max weigh around that middle ground as around 55 pounds. So giant river otters in the wild are considered piscivores, which means that they eat primarily fish, but you will see them, you may have seen some photos of them eating crabs and stuff, which is not uncommon as well. But here at the zoo, they actually get a balanced diet of tilapia, trout, and catfish. Their personal favorite though is the trout. So giant river otters are very talkative. They actually have 22 different vocalizations between chuffs, growls, barks, and whistles. If you come and visit them, you'll probably hear one of them. So the Houston Zoo offers several avenues of resources for us to learn more about a species, especially with the giant river otters. We have been offered to attend conferences. We have an arsenal of scholarly articles and the knowledge of our supervisors and peers. So my favorite thing about the giant river otters is their playfulness. It makes you recheck yourself and always keep yourself as lighthearted as you can. So just keep an eye out for auction number 201. That actually is an opportunity for you to be one of our first people to go up on the VIP deck, get a pretty up-close view of Drew and Max, and see a little bit of a feeding session as well, and ask all your questions to the zookeepers as well.
Please welcome the chairs of Zoo Ball 2020, Sarah and Randy Ortwine.
Those giant river otters are an amazing addition to our zoo. As Randy and I stand here in the new Poncinal exhibit, we can't help but be amazed at how much our zoo has transformed over the years.
Sarah and I are honored to chair this year's Zoo Ball, especially during this challenging time. There's never been a moment like this when our zoo is depending so much on community support to care for its animals and save wildlife.
That's why we're grateful to have you with us tonight. Like you, we're passionate supporters of our Houston Zoo. I'm a native Houstonian, and I grew up making frequent trips to the zoo with my family. My mother was a zoo docent and drove the zoomobile to area schools, enabling students to interact with animals in their classrooms. I thought that was really cool. Now, in addition to all those wonderful memories, I understand the significant role the Houston Zoo plays in conservation and education. The zoo's beloved by Houstonians. Its 2 million annual guests reflect the diversity of our city. And it's a zoo for all. welcoming thousands of guests with free or deeply discounted admission. Our zoo inspires new generations to care for nature and wildlife, typically hosting more than 100,000 children every year through field trips and camps.
With the impact of the pandemic, our zoo hasn't been able to welcome as many guests or host in-person educational programs. Tonight's Zoo Ball is our best opportunity to ensure the zoo emerges from this crisis stronger and thriving.
I know that we're up to the challenge. Think back to what this zoo looked like decades ago and how much progress we've made. The Houston Zoo is the amazing place it is today because of your generosity. Tonight's honoree, Jane Bloch, is the embodiment of that generosity. As a lifetime member of Zoo Friends, she's helped raise millions of dollars to improve our zoo. Up next, we're going to pay tribute to Jane's decades of outstanding service.
And stay tuned for a special appearance from one of the stars of the Houston Zoo, Curly the sloth. We also have the live paddle race coming up where every donation will be matched up to $100,000.
Again, thank you for being with us tonight.
I'm so happy that you're being recognized tonight at the Zoo Ball. I really can't think of anybody that's more deserving in terms of your support and your love for the zoo over so many years. I mean, you were at the zoo way before me, and you're still there after me, and I hope you're here for a lot more.
I knew Jane would be a good zoo friend because she's dependable. You can count on her. She does what she'll say, and she's very passionate about things that she believes in.
I think Jane is successful in life and in fundraising for the same reasons. She is a dedicated person. She loves life. She loves people. She loves animals.
Yes, she loves the zoo, and she brings that love out when she goes to people. Also, her sense of humor. She has a great
wicked
sense.
Of humor.
Yes. Sometimes irreverent.
Those are the best.
Oh, I know. That's why we love her.
She's so unselfish. She is always about other people and just serving others, but having a great time at the same time. And again, it doesn't matter what you do. She knows your name and she will ask about your kids and she loves everyone.
My favorite memory of Jane has got to be when we were having the kickoff for the Rhino A Go-Go, and we were going to, Edie Harvey and I were dressed in our 60s garb. We had our white go-go boots on and frosted lipstick, blue eyeshadow, the whole works. And Jane was coming into the meeting late, and as she walked by, she looked at us and she said, "Oh, you girls are cute." And Edie and I looked at each other and thought, okay, she thinks we look perfectly normal. She doesn't even realize we're in costume. But that's Jane. That's why I love her.
Right.
Well, I knew that I could always count on Jane. She always gave it her all. And we needed to sell a lot of raffle tickets. So I put Jane in charge of it. And I think that year we broke all records.
Jane, all of a sudden, I think it was maybe because we both, like to talk a lot and bounce around a lot, but she started calling us the Bobbsey twins, and I just love that. So we are the Bobbsey twins, and we are the Fab Four. Jane, we hug you right here.
Yes, absolutely. There are too many memories of Jane. I can remember being in the pool, the pond, in waders with Jane, getting ready for our zoo ball. And one of us slipped and filled up our waders with water. We all died laughing.
Yeah.
We did everything. We didn't, if something had to be brought in, we brought it in. We even did our own catering one year.
Zoo Friends and Jane Bloch are synonymous. You can't have one without the other. And you introduced me to so many friends that are dear friends still. You know, from Diana Untermeyer to Kathy Brock to Jeannie Kilroy to Nancy Puska to Cynthia Hughes to Randa Duncan Williams to Randa Weiner to Sally Cox. I could go on and on. but these people are still all my dear friends, and it's all because of you, Jane. So Jane, what can I say except thank you for all that you've done for the zoo, and for me. We'll be forever grateful. There's nobody like you. You're a special person, you're a special friend, and I want you to keep on zooing it forever. And save that last dance for me.
We love you, Jane!
Congratulations!
Please welcome tonight's Zoo Ball 2020 honoree, Jane Bloch.
I have always loved children and animals. My parents in North Carolina even fixed up a room in the basement so I could bring all the injured animals in to take care of them. I'm with you today with some apprehension over all that everyone has been going through. We're here for one reason, and that is our zoo. There are 6,000 animals living here, with over 900 species, and with no qualms, the limited staff has been taking shifts to take care of these beautiful creatures during these trying times. Speaking of staff, my escort for the live ball was to be George Brandy, curator of the aquarium for the past 39 years. As they say, a great employee's like a four-leaf clover, hard to find and lucky to keep. Jeannie Kilroy was one of the founders of Zoo Friends, and in the early 1970s took me under her wings and asked if I would join Zoo Friends. She immediately proposed that I sell raffle tickets for her ball. I sold the most and won the prize, and from here it became history. It became a lifestyle, along with running my real estate company and volunteering on other boards. I was so thrilled when I met Ginger, Nick, and Lee last December when they informed me of the decision that I was chosen as the honoree for the 2020 ball. Briefly, I thought that they might want me to help them with fundraising for something special at our zoo. Mark Twain once said that it took him 3 weeks to write a speech. I have him beat. I started this in January. Therefore, I'll proceed to tell you some of my tales of adventures over 50 years. At this time, there were no professional fundraisers, so our Zoo Friends and I became Director John Whirler's source to find extra needed funds. My first encounter was to visit with Dr. John P. McGovern in order to obtain $10,000 for a pair of bongos. His reply was, "Why does the zoo need drums?" Thank you, Mrs. Kathy McGovern, for all your generous support. Janice and Bob McNair had a tea party on their front lawn to obtain funds for the elephant facility. They have renovated and rebuilt this exhibit every year as needed. Thank you, Janice and McNair family. I thought I was really hot stuff when I approached Bob Onstead. He set me straight when he told me that he would not give me a penny to our zoo, only if it became a fee-charge facility. He was so right. The Onsteads have been nonstop supporters. Thank you, Kay and family. The first $1 million the zoo ever received at this time was when I went to the Wortham Foundation with Peppermint Patty, a beautiful golden tamarin monkey. I would not advise at all taking the monkey to a meeting, but it worked thanks to our director, John Whirler. Not only did I obtain dollars, I flew to California with our zoo trainer to pick up sea lions for our new McGovern Mammal Marina. Carly flew home with us to become our first sea lion. She had epilepsy, but out of her misfortune, she taught the children on Epilepsy Day how to take their medication. She became Houstonian's ambassador for the Epilepsy Society, for which their ball was named Sealed with a Kiss in her honor. Art has become a vital feature in our zoo. My appreciation must be extended to Judy and Charles Tate for their life-size steer by Ms. Billy Evans, as well as the to scale African elephant artist Bob Fowler and donated by Isabel and Max Herstein. It is out at the west entry as permanently. Last but not least, you, our supporters, zoo friends, and zoo staff have made these adventures possible, as well as making our facility the third-ranked zoo in our country. Ball chairs, Sarah and Randy, congratulations, a job well done. Thank you all for this honor and traveling down these paths with me. It's been a rewarding trip. Be safe and love one another.
Hi, my name is Priscilla and I'm a zookeeper in Natural Encounters, and today we're going to look at Curly, our Linnaeus two-toed sloth. So he is one of two species of two-toed sloth. So there's the Linnaeus and there's the Hoffman's two-toed sloth, and Curly is actually the largest species of two-toed sloth, and they are found in South American rainforests, and they're found in areas of the Pantanal as well. So the difference between two-toed sloths and three-toed sloths is that the two-toed sloths will have 2 toes in the front and 3 toes in the back, and three-toed sloths have 3 toes in the front and the back. So all sloths will have 3 toes in the back, but it's their front feet that makes the distinguishing factor if they're two-toed versus three-toed. So sloths only eat mostly vegetation out in the wild, which is why they're very slow. So they don't get a lot of nutrients from that, and so because of that they move very, very slow. And they actually have 4-chambered stomachs, so it takes them a while to digest everything. So here at the zoo, we feed Curly a variety of produce, and then he also gets like a dry biscuit as well, and this biscuit contains various vitamins and nutrients that he would typically get out in the wild. So he gets a variety of like grapes and zucchini, he gets cucumber. Today he has butternut squash and some pomegranate, but his favorite things are actually egg and grape and steamed sweet potato. Anything they eat, they will usually digest, and it takes them about a month to digest whatever they eat. And the only time that they come down to the ground is to use the bathroom. And so they'll just climb down the tree, use the bathroom, and go right back up. So sloths are actually very solitary. They live high up in the canopy in trees, and they live alone, and they're very camouflaged when they're up there. So their predators are mostly jaguars and birds of prey. And so what they do is they stay up in the trees by themselves, and they only come together to mate. But for the most part, they are very solitary. So Curly came to us about 7 years ago, and he was 18 years old. And at that time, he wasn't used to human interaction. So it took us a while to train with him and get him accustomed to and comfortable with coming out and meeting guests. He is one of our ambassador animals. He lives behind the scenes, and usually he comes out for presentations and he comes out for tours. What I appreciate about him is his patience that he's had with us and the trust that he's built with us keepers and trainers so that we can get him to this point. So actually, anytime you purchase a zoo ticket, you are helping not only sloths, but many animals here at the zoo out in the wild. And so what we do is kind of spread his message about rainforests and deforestation and ways that you can help his species out in the wild. If you guys want a chance to actually meet Curly, you can bid on auction 310 and you'll get a chance to feed him, see him very, very up close, and maybe even get a picture with him.
So on March 14th, the day we closed, we realized that everything had changed. And we immediately began rethinking just the way that our staff would actually access the zoo. We divided most of the teams up into two so that we could minimize the opportunities for cross-contamination. Obviously, people who didn't need to be at the zoo started to work from home, and many still are. So there were some big changes in the way we operated the zoo from the beginning. One of the things that really surprised us a few weeks into the pandemic that changed the way we were thinking is that we heard from our colleagues at the Bronx Zoo that a number of tigers and lions at the zoo had contracted COVID. This was completely new information and obviously took us to a new level of concern, and the work that we do with our animals changed at that point as well, and it's continued to change. So during the period of the shutdown, obviously things were very different, but staff did an amazing job keeping the animals safe, sound, and happy, and keeping our physical plant up and running. And at the same time, we almost immediately began thinking about reopening. How were we going to safely reopen the zoo, bring the public back into obviously a different environment, but one that we obviously wanted to happen as soon as possible. So obviously without guests coming to the zoo, we were losing the big portion of our revenue, but maybe even more importantly is we were worried about losing the connection with the millions of people who visit the zoo every year, our members, members of the community, etc. So we immediately pivoted to becoming an online presence. Our Facebook Live series was a daily event that was followed by thousands and thousands of people. We had so many comments and so many letters and emails from people saying it was the highlight of their day waiting for that midday Facebook Live event at the zoo.
So one of the things that we had to do, along with the rest of the world, is figure out how we could still meet together and still remain a team. Even though we were split apart, even though we didn't have a lot of people together physically, we still wanted to be together collectively. We're meeting remotely so we could keep everyone safe. And then also leaving messages for each other. Because we were working this two-team system, we wanted to make sure that Team A and Team B were connected and were together. So we had some Zoom and Teams parties where everyone got together. But also some of the teams were pretty creative in the way that they left messages for each other. Since we were closed during that period of time, we used sidewalk chalk to leave messages for one team to the other, words of encouragement, and just different things to keep the morale up and keep everyone communicating effectively.
So for my team, the Rangers, we're the health, safety, and security team. And health, safety, and security never stop, whether our gates are open or closed. In fact, during a pandemic, they escalate. We've all seen the unfortunate numbers of the lives lost. All the more reason for the critical work the Rangers do on grounds, ensuring that everyone is protected, everyone is wearing their mask properly, and that is the way that we're going to stop the spread and save lives.
We were thinking about reopening really from the day that we closed the zoo. We realized we would be in a different situation when the opportunity came to reopen. So we put together a team from across the zoo who worked really hard to prepare for all the contingencies that might be out there and to think about how we could reopen the zoo in a way that was going to be safe for the guests, for our animals, and of course for our staff. So I want to commend the amazing team that we have here at the zoo who pulled together right from the start to think about creative ways to get the zoo reopened.
So in preparing for reopening, we created a reopening task force that was made up of senior directors. We had subcommittees and we met not once, twice, but 3-4 times a week. And we focused on training, we focused on cleaning, we focused on all of the different aspects, protective measures, everything that we needed to put in place to again ensure the safety of all those that were returning, and again for our staff and our animals.
When we learned that we were going to be able to open our zoo back up to our guests, we had to figure out how to prioritize our keeper staff time, knowing that we had less staff to work with. It's a disappointment for the keepers to not be able to do keeper chats, but we knew that we had to concentrate on animal care first.
We had to make some gut-wrenching decisions. We had to really decide how we're going to continue to operate this zoo. And throughout all the changes, the animal team has been incredible, very willing to adapt to the changes that are coming their way, and willing to try to figure out ways to make their job a little more efficient.
And at the same time, we never really stopped on some of these big projects that were happening at the zoo. These were all obviously funded with money that couldn't be used to operate the zoo. These were donor funds to build this amazing new Pantanal exhibit that's right behind me here, as well as our Galapagos exhibit. So we made the decision early on that we would continue with the construction projects at the zoo as long as it was safe. And I think we're so happy that we made that decision, because here in October we were able to open up one of the greatest new exhibits that we've ever done here at the zoo, the Pantanal, and we're working really hard on our new entry plaza and Galapagos exhibit as well.
On June 1st, I met up with a mom and her 2 children, and what she told me is, she said, we haven't been out of the house since March. This is the first place that we've come to because we feel safe at the zoo. And that to me was so confirming of everything that we had put in place to keep everyone safe.
I want to thank you, all of our donors, so much for your support all year long and during these challenging times. It's support like yours that makes all of these programs possible, including our beautiful new Pantanal exhibit.
I would just like to say thank you to you, to our donors, to Lee, to our leaders who have led us throughout this really tough and difficult time. They've led us with grace, with compassion and vision to continue us safely moving forward, to continue our mission of saving wildlife.
We want to thank you, all of you, our donors. Without you, none of this would be possible. We are so happy that we are able to continue to provide such a great zoo here, and that's all thanks to you and the support that you give. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a fantastic evening.
So the work of the zoo has continued. We continue to be committed to saving animals in the wild and providing a great experience for people here in Houston. And none of that would be possible without the support of people like yourselves. The community has really rallied around the zoo, and we can't thank you enough. From the bottom of our heart, thank you.
And now, a special presentation of the Houston Zoo, Saving Wildlife.
As humans have expanded around the world, there's a lot more challenges with trying to live in harmony with wildlife. And that's why we work with people around the world to find solutions. What I do is really connect with all the projects around the world that help to protect the animals we have here. So we're working with people in the Pantanal, working with people in Asia, working with people in Africa to make sure those species are protected. Before I came to the Houston Zoo, I worked in Canada. I'm from Canada originally, and I got to see a species come back from the brink of extinction. I worked with many species, breeding them and reintroducing them, and it's not actually the research, it's not just breeding and putting them back. It's everyone, every job, every person is going to help with saving wildlife, and I know this works because that's what I saw in my early part of my career, is once everyone was brought in, then we save species. And so when I came to the zoo, I knew that anything was possible. So the Houston Zoo is a place where we can actually bring everyone together to have this conversation and to make people feel a part of saving wildlife. So any of the animals we have here at the zoo are protected in the wild. So basically you're walking around the world when you walk through the zoo. And that means we work all around the world. The Houston Zoo name is in Africa, in Rwanda with gorillas, in Borneo with elephants. You'll actually see our logo in different parts of the world because we are supporting people that do exactly what the zoo does, brings everyone together to come up with solutions. And that's what's going to save species. So our criteria is that people from the areas become our partners. So we're not doing it for them. They are figuring it out, how to bring in the government, how to bring in the stakeholders that are interacting with that species, how to bring in the village, how to really improve everything for everyone. And so they end up being our extended family.
Hello to all our friends at the Houston Zoo. We are in the state of Minas Gerais, and we have just placed a collar on a giant anteater that is going to be released into this beautiful habitat. This anteater's mother was victim of a road collision, and he was placed under human care for the past almost year and a half. After being weaned, he was placed and lived into this enclosure. And today he's receiving a collar, getting some health work, health check, and he will then be released next week into the wild. And thanks to the collar, we will be able to follow his progress and monitor him and make sure that everything goes well. So thank you so much to the Houston Zoo for making this possible, and let's wish this anteater good luck.
As a result of working with people from the countries that understand all the challenges that go around saving a species, we've seen elephant populations increase in Borneo. That's amazing. We see this in Africa as well, in Rwanda, and with gorilla species, mountain gorilla species going up. And so that is something that Houstonians can be so proud of. This exhibit becomes so important, and our partners are so connected to it because it's their voice now in another place. They never had the connection to something bigger in the world, and now they do. They're very proud of their work with the Houston Zoo. Hundreds of thousands of people that come to a place to feel joy. When they know that by coming through that gate, they've already helped save wildlife, they become wildlife savers in their mind. And then they start to look at different ways they can help. And we need this. Our partners in the field love that the zoo reaches so many people and inspires so many people. It makes it so that people can be invited into the conservation world. Everyone feels included in this picture of wildlife saving, we will be successful. A huge thank you to all of you, our zoo family. All of our partners around the world want to express their gratitude to you. Everything you're doing in this event will help us save more wildlife around the world. And we're just so grateful for everything you've given in the past as well. Tonight, you'll get to participate in a Paddles Up auction, in a silent auction, and the more you give, the more we'll help the world with wildlife. So thank you so much. Tonight, you'll be able to bid on an item where I'll walk you through the zoo and you can hear more about my stories. You can ask as many questions as you want, and we can talk about how to save wildlife more. Then I also have another auction item where I'll be joined with Dr. Cullen Geiselman from our board, and we'll talk a lot more about bats and other wildlife we see on our walk. So go ahead and bid as much as you can to help everything that we're doing here for wildlife in the world. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We're coming to you live from the Now Family Gorilla Treehouse. Thank you so much for joining us virtually. We truly wish we could hug each other, shake each other's hand, and enjoy a meal together. And we'll do that soon, but we appreciate you spending your time here virtually with us tonight. We have an opportunity here to continue to change the zoo's future for the foreseeable time. We have an opportunity tonight to support the zoo in its efforts, in its virtual programs, and the care of their animals. Tonight, we're going to be raising money that, as you know, the zoo has continued to save wildlife and serve our community during this challenging year. But you also know the zoo still needs our help to recover from the pandemic, so please make your plans to attend, make your plans to come out with your friends and family when appropriate. Now, as we head into this portion, we're going to need your cell phones out. If you haven't gotten registered or you don't know if you're registered or not, head to the website bidpal.net/zooball20. That's bidpal.net/zooball20, all right? And you can follow the prompts there, get registered up, or get re-registered if you've lost your text or whatever. So that's how it's going to work. That's how the silent auction is bidding and going on. So please make sure you're ready over there. As we head into this program, we have had an anonymous donor be willing to match our first $100,000 we raised, and I thank you so much to that anonymous donor. We truly appreciate it. So know, every dollar you donate is being doubled tonight by that anonymous donor. Thank you so much. Now, as we head into it, we're going to talk about several different levels. We're going to talk about what those levels can do. And when you have your phone out, as soon as you click on a link that you got in that text, that blue link, the top button up there says donate. As soon as you click that, there's multiple levels, and please just click on whatever level makes sense to you, whatever level it motivates you here as we go through them to talk about what they're doing. Now, I can't explain all of this stuff, so I'm going to be joined up here by Lisa Marie Avendano, whose title is the Vice President of Animal Operations, and Nick Larberg, the Supervisor of Camp and Overnight Programs. They're going to hop on and off, describing more in detail about exactly what these funds are going to be used here at the Houston Zoo. Let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to invite Lisa Marie up here to join me. Lisa Marie, tell us a little bit about what you do out here every day.
Hi, Logan. I'm Lisa Marie Avendano, and I'm the Vice President of Animal Operations. That means I'm responsible for veterinary care, nutrition in each of the animal sections.
Wow, and the vast majority of us, myself included, can't even begin to comprehend how all-encompassing that title is and the things that come across her desk every day. Thank you for being here, Lisa Marie. Our first level, ladies and gentlemen, our first opportunity to support tonight is at $25,000. $25,000, understand what it can do. It can help cover the cost of caring for our Asian elephant herd. Now, you all know when you come out here, everyone loves the elephants. It's such a thrill when baby Nelson was born just this year. If you haven't been out to the zoo to see baby Nelson, you better get out here. He's growing up fast. So, Lisa Marie, can you talk to us a little bit about all the work that goes into caring for a herd of 11 Asian elephants?
Sure, Logan. Yes, the elephants are the largest and probably the smartest animals we have at the zoo. And taking care of a herd is like taking care of a giant family, with babies, kids of different ages, moms, aunts, and so there's a lot of different needs. And when we're expecting a baby elephant, it's a 2-year commitment to prenatal care. That's a lot of blood work, a lot of vitamins, extra food, and a lot of ultrasounds to check on the baby that whole time. And like I said, they're really smart animals, so the enrichment program that we have to design for them to keep them physically active and mentally engaged is very extensive, with a lot of training, changing up their exhibit space, and giving them opportunities to forage for food, high and low. And your support makes sure that we can meet all the member needs of that herd, including little baby Nelson all the way up to our beloved matriarch, Mitai.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, this is our opportunity to hop in and support the zoo that we've loved for years. Who's it going to be? At $25,000 right now, get your phone out, click that donate button that's at the top of your screen, and the $25,000, if that makes sense. Thank you so much to Kathy and Joseph Cleary. We truly appreciate your support. Let me refresh my screen and see if anybody's sneaking in over here. Understand, we do not mean to be cavalier about this money. This money will go to change, to truly impact the things that we're able to do with our Asian elephant herd around here. Oh, Kathy and Joseph Cleary, thank you so much for everything that you've done tonight. We truly appreciate it. Anybody else right now at $25,000 in completely tax-deductible donation to help out the Houston Zoo right now? Who's it going to be? We'll linger just a moment longer, see if anybody want to hop in there before we move on to our next level. Thank you so much, everybody. We truly appreciate it. Our next level, now, Lisa Maria, I'm going to need you up here for our next one as well, is $15,000. This helps buy literally tons of hay, apples, meat, and greens. Obviously, you've seen the elephants. Well, you know we have African elephants. Just think about literally the tonnage that these animals can go through every year. The giraffes alone eat 30,000 heads of lettuce every year. So our next level is $15,000. Lisa Marie, can you tell us what it takes to keep all these animals fed?
Those numbers are impressive, and we go through about 30,000 pounds of apples a year. So $15,000 would probably take care of our entire grocery bill for apples for a year. But besides those impressive numbers, whether we're talking about giraffe, lettuce, and hay, or the variety of seafood that we give our sea lions, or the fruits and veggies that we give our amazing insects in the bug house, there's just something so satisfying and special about feeding our animals. The guests love to see it, the keepers love to provide the meals, and watching them enjoy their food and knowing that we gave them all their nutritional needs, it's just so satisfying and important, and we couldn't do it without you. I'm just so amazed by your generosity, especially in these tough times. I know our animals will never go hungry with supporters like you.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else want to hop in there at $15,000 and underwrite some of these massive food bills? Think about it. If you have a teenager at home, they don't come close to eating this. Who wants to hop in and feed the giraffes, feed the elephants? Get some apples, get some lettuce right now. Who's it going to be? At $15,000, you have the opportunity to change the future right here. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We truly could not do a night like this without you. Anybody else at the $15,000 level? Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to keep on moving, and I'm going to bring Nick up here now to talk to us on our next level. Our next level is $10,000. Now, at $10,000, we're going to talk about some of the zoo's conservation education programs and how $10,000 could support the virtual school programs. Now, Nick, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do out here.
Thanks, Logan. So I'm Nick, and I'm the camp and overnight supervisor here at the zoo, which means that I help create and then implement all of our camp programs and our overnight programs. So for camp, when school's not in session, we bring traditionally campers up to the zoo, let them explore the zoo and pursue their interests as it relates to the natural world. And then with overnights, we bring guests up after hours and allow them to explore the zoo with our staff and see what happens after dark here at the zoo.
Wow, such a cool experience. If you haven't had the opportunity, please get Nick's contact information and get out here. Let the kiddos see what it's like. See if they'll spark their imaginations and that part of their brains, and see if they'll become the future conservation heroes around here. Now, our next level is this $10,000 and how it can support the virtual school programs. As you can well imagine, COVID-19 has forced the zoo to suspend its in-person education programs. But the good news is they've adapted to the virtual space to keep engaging the next generation of these conservation heroes, truly reaching people coast to coast, people that they wouldn't have reached before. So, Nick, can you talk to us about the impacts you've seen thanks to this virtual program?
Yeah, so as much as we love interacting with guests and students here on zoo grounds, being in a virtual classroom setting with some of these programs, we're able to bring the zoo directly to them. And there is something magical about seeing their faces when all of a sudden our elephant herd is in their classroom. Or we introduce them to our tiger much closer than they'd be able to see if they were here as a guest. But some of those impacts, like you mentioned, coast to coast. We've had schools, not just here in Houston, but all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, join us for some of these programs. And it's not just schools either. We've had companies reach out and ask us to do virtual field trips and animal encounters for their staff and their employees. And it's another way for us to just expand our reach as a conservation organization.
Incredible. Think about that. Obviously, this probably wasn't planned in Nick's 5-year plan, but it might have expanded the reach of Houston Zoo for years, maybe generations to come. So your opportunity now at $10,000, they're coming in. Thank you so much to Annie and Bob Graham at $10,000, Kathleen Gallagher at $10,000, Beverly and James Postal at $10,000. Thank you so much. Look at this. It continues to climb. That's matched also up to $100,000. So we're at $220,000 right now, ladies and gentlemen, and it just keeps on coming. At $10,000, you can give some money to Nick's program, and he can tell you more. Please get his email, get his phone number, and he'll dive as deep as you want to go into their plans, their concepts, and how they want to continue to implement this in the future. At $10,000 right now, head to your phone, click that blue donate button at the top, and it's like tearing a Band-Aid off. The quicker you do it, the less it hurts. Anybody else at $10,000 right now, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to keep on moving, and I'm going to tap you out, Nick, with Lisa Marie. Our next level is at $5,000, and this is going to talk about the zoo's effort to save wildlife. Now, $5,000 could help protect giant anteaters and tapirs in Brazil. As you saw earlier in the program tonight, the zoo's partners in Brazil are helping to protect giant anteaters and tapirs to make sure they thrive in the wild. Now, if you happened to join us in the Conservation Gala last October, you learned even more about that. Stories like this are happening literally all over the world, from right here in Texas to Brazil and farther, thanks to your support of the zoo on nights like tonight. Thank you so much. So, Lisa Marie, what does it mean for the zoo to be a zoo-based conservation organization?
Yes. As we know, our mission at the Houston Zoo is connecting communities to animals, inspiring action to save wildlife. So that means our guests can come to the zoo, visit the animals, see them healthy and thriving in beautiful naturalistic exhibits. We get to teach them the threats that those animals are experiencing in the wild and how the Houston Zoo, through those partnerships, are making a difference for those animals, and how they themselves can help save animals locally or globally by taking specific actions.
Thank you so much, Lisa Marie. Every little bit helps. Every piece of education has an opportunity to plant seeds that will grow into beautiful opportunities down the road. $5,000 right here to hop in and help the zoo's conservation program. $5,000, we've already, right there, Sean and Audra McNicholas. Thank you so much to the McNicholas family at $5,000. Anybody else right now at $5,000 to help support the zoo's conservation program? Oh, there they are. Lauren and Vineet Bhatia, my apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. Lee Imke, I think we know that guy, at $5,000. Anybody else at the $5,000 level right now to hop in and support the zoo's conservation efforts, both locally, right here in the Houston area, to literally all over this planet that we only have one of, that we all have to be good stewards of. And the ultimate goal is to leave it better than we found it, right? At $5,000 right now is your opportunity to pop in. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to bring Nick back up, if you would. Nick, come on back here, and we're going to talk about our $2,500 level and how $2,500 can help support Camp Zoofari. Now, Camp Zoofari is by far the zoo's most popular education program. Every summer, thousands of campers enjoy this fun and engaging camp under the guidance of this gentleman to my left. Of course, Camp Zoofari looked a little bit different this year. Nick, you've run Camp Zoofari for years. What has it been for you to take this program virtual?
At first, it was a huge shock realizing that we weren't going to get to see all of our campers who we've built these connections with, built these relationships with year after year, to have them come through our doors. And that was a blow. But we were able to adapt to create some virtual programming in that camp field and maintain those connections. And one of the things I think that's been most impressive is to see those relationships grow stronger despite the physical distance. And we've created some new relationships as well. So campers that might not have been able to make it daily to the zoo for our summer camp program, but they can log onto a device and invite us into their homes. We've had campers that wrote us letters all through the summer to our different animals in different keeper sections, asking questions, making sure the animals were okay and taken care of. And we've been able to actually get a glimpse of what nature is like for these campers in their space. We use a virtual scavenger hunt program, and they submit photos of things that they see out in the wild that they're surprised about or interested about. And it helps us tailor their experience, but also gives us a glimpse of how they're interacting with nature in and around their homes.
That's fascinating and so cool. Please grab some time to get a hold of Nick and let him tell you more about this and how interactive a trip to the zoo is these days, and how much fun and the data that they get behind it as well. Thank you so much. Now, before I announce our first $2,500 donor, I would be remiss. Trush Freeman gave at the $5,000 level. Thank you so much to the Freeman family. Now at $2,500, I have Lauren and Vineet Bhatia again. Thank you. They donated $5,000 and $2,500. You are incredibly generous. Thank you so much. Anybody else at the $2,500 level, and all of that money could go to supporting this Camp Zufari effort and leading us into the future of what this virtual and hybrid will probably be like moving forward, wouldn't you say? And even after COVID, some kind of hybrid and live.
Absolutely, absolutely. So like this fall, we're introducing a hybrid program with camp where we have live sessions virtually and then encouraging families to come together to the zoo to experience a special day here where we've got all sorts of digital activities for them to participate in as a group, let the campers showcase some of their knowledge and really be the guides for their families when they come up to the zoo.
So cool. Really is some cool stuff. $2,500 right now. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Nick. I'm going to tap you out and bring Lisa Marie back to close us out. We've got 2 more levels, and we want to see this board light up. Our next one is $1,000, and we're going to talk a little bit about how this $1,000 could help support the veterinarian team. Now, as you can imagine, the zoo goes to incredible lengths to provide the absolutely best care possible to each and every animal. The vet team is a huge part of that. Lisa Marie, can you talk to us a little bit about the vet team and what kind of supplies they need every day to do their jobs?
Sure. We use a wide variety of medical supplies, equipment, and medications, not just for the routine care, but to also be prepared for illness, injury, or anything unexpected. And you'd probably be surprised at the wide variety of services that the veterinary team provides, including the routine wellness exams I mentioned, vaccinations, surgery, anesthesia, x-rays, ultrasounds. It's amazing. Lee mentioned earlier that when baby Nelson Elephant was born, he needed emergency surgery. And I have to say that was one of the hardest, but probably one of the most rewarding days of my career here, because we had expert staff on the veterinary team and the elephant team, and we were prepared, we were ready. We'd done our trainings, we drilled for that, and we had the equipment and the supplies that we needed, and we had a beautiful surgery suite in order to take care of Nelson when he needed us most. And I still get emotional sometimes when I think about it. It was incredible. And we're only able to do that with your support.
Absolutely. I mean, you well know, if you're a part of this, the people out here see these animals as their own children, as part of them. And we're so grateful that these people love these animals like this. Who's it going to be at $1,000? Now, we had a donor earlier of $1,500. Susan Chen, thank you so much, at $1,500. But we've had several $1,000 donors since we've been standing here. Diane Bowman, thank you so much. Cullen Gieselman, thank you so much. Cheryl and Charles Ballard/Jones, thank you. Meredith Turner, thank you, at $1,000. Prince and Princess Peter Galitzine, my apologies, as you can well imagine. That's probably not correct. Thank you so much. Look at these numbers continuing to tick up. Joshua and Mindy Davidson at $1,000. Lee Imke at $1,000. David Purcell, thank you so much, at $1,000. DeWitt and Stacy Methvin at $1,000. My goodness, it just keeps on coming. And as we said earlier, we do not mean to be cavalier about this money, but kind of amortize this out, roughly $80 a month, give or take. Come on, guys, hop in there. Just don't go to Olive Garden every 2 weeks. And you got it. Please come together tonight. There's very few of us that can underwrite these entire programs by ourselves. But tonight is the opportunity for us to come together and make an impact at the Houston Zoo that's done so much for us, so much for our community, and has really had a struggle with COVID-19. Here's our opportunity to show how much we appreciate and love them for their work. Who else is in at $1,000 right now? I think we've got some other donors coming in. Let me refresh my screen here. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's keep on going. We have one more live level here that Lisa Marie's going to help me out with at $500. $500 can help purchase animal enrichment items. And if you've been to the zoo, you've certainly seen these. You might not quite realize what there were. Enrichment items aren't just fun for the guests to watch when the animals are playing with balls, working on puzzles, or dealing with other plastic items that might not look exactly intrinsic to that environment. But most importantly, it exercises the minds and the muscles of each and every animal that they interact with. So, Lisa Marie, what kind of enrichment do the animals get? And I bet the zookeepers try to keep it pretty creative.
Yes, they do. You're right. It's not just fun for animals and people. It's a really important part of everyday animal care, and it makes animals have the best lives possible. Enrichment can take many forms, including changing up their schedule, training them and feeding them at different times, changing up the exhibit so they have something new to experience. We can also add different sights, sounds, and smells to their environment. But you're right, our favorite kind of enrichment is probably enrichment items, things that we make or buy for these animals. For example, we can give the primates a puzzle feeder so they can manipulate it with their fingers, they can figure it out with their mind. We give carnivores these large, heavy weeble wobble toys that they can interact with like they were prey, attack them, and drag them around. It's very fulfilling. You're right, they really need this kind of physical and mental stimulation to live their best lives. And it's only possible with your support so that we can make those items for them or buy those items for them. I hope you can be part of the animal welfare team because I certainly consider you to be that.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. Here's our opportunity at $500 to change animals' lives, right? Who's it going to be? Now, we got a $1,000 donor late. David Pruner, thank you so much at $1,000. But we have several 500s here. Christopher and Jennifer Laporte, thank you. Bass and Courtney Solveld, apologies. Thank you so much at $500. Who else at the $500 level right now? Hop onto your phone where you've been bidding. And how about you go place a bid, outbid somebody, and then come back and donate $500. Click that blue donate button now. Like we spoke about just a few moments, we do not mean to be cavalier about this money. Every single dollar helps. But we have an opportunity here to really hold the arms up of the Houston Zoo that has been such a mainstay, a cornerstone of sorts in the Houston community. We love them. We appreciate them. Here's our opportunity to show that love and appreciation. Who else at $500 right now? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Lisa Marie. We truly appreciate it. Look at this. I'm sure there's still numbers coming in. There's still elbows and ribs of different spouses of saying, oh, come on, let's give, let's support. We've been going out there for years. Now, if we didn't talk about a number that made sense, maybe we started too low. But if we didn't talk about a number that made sense, if you'll click that blue donate button, and you can see there's other levels, there's also a button that says other on there. So please, everything counts. $25, $50, $100, it all adds up to holding up and creating a future for the Houston Zoo that we so love and so appreciate. So please, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever makes sense to you, your business, your family, your budget, we have an opportunity here to enhance the Houston Zoo moving forward through this pandemic. Thank you so much for being here, ladies and gentlemen. We have another animal presentation after this, so please hang tight. And the silent auction is closing at 9 o'clock. It is 8:04, all right? It closes at 9 o'clock sharp. So I thought he said, no, he didn't. 9 o'clock sharp. Get in there, get those bids, outbid your friends. Be proud to overpay tonight. Thank you so much for being here. After the animal presentation, Nick Espinoza will come back up to give some very exciting news that I'm sure we all want to be and understand tonight. Thank you for being here. We can't wait to see you in person. We truly appreciate your support tonight. Thank you.
My name is Christopher Holmes, and I'm the curator of birds here at the Houston Zoo, and we are going to be talking about the blue-billed curassow. The blue-billed curassow is only found in Colombia, and it's found in one river valley called the Magdalena River Valley. It is critically endangered. There are 250 to 2,000 of them left in the wild, and it's a species that the Houston Zoo has worked with since the 1960s. The blue-billed curassows are both ground birds and arboreal birds, so they occupy both plains and the forest. And their main job is to eat fruits and spread the seeds around the forest, replanting the forest. Blue-billed curassows start their day when the sun rises, and they start hunting around for food and treats. They are fed at around 7:30, and then they are given treats after lunch, and then they are given a treat after the zoo closes. Well, blue-billed curassows have a large personality, and one of my coworkers actually just named the female Isabella. We don't normally name the birds, but that is now her name. So in the zoo, the blue-billed curassow is fed chopped fruits, greens, and other fresh vegetables, and they're also given peanuts. It's one of their favorite diet items. Well, blue-billed curassows, they mate for life, so they're a monogamous species, so the male and female can live together for up to over 20 years. Their lifespan is usually to the early 30s. So they're a very long-lived species, and they form very strong pair bonds with each other. Well, I first started working with the blue-billed curassow when I was 14 years old as a volunteer here at the Houston Zoo. They were always a large, amazing, very friendly bird. And then eventually I got to work with the conservation programs in Colombia, and the bird kind of highlighted that culture of Colombia. So it was a bird that kind of introduced you to the world. Well, the zoo is saving this animal in the wild by supporting a conservation program partnership between the Barranquilla Zoo, Proyecto Titi, and the Houston Zoo to make sure that this bird has habitat in the wild. We are currently doing a camera trap survey in an area where the blue-billed curassow was known to range, and we're trying to locate a wild population to help protect that population in the future. You can join me and Isabella the blue-billed curassow if you bid on auction number 207, where we'll have a keeper chat and you can feed Isabella treats. Thank you so much for your support of the Houston Zoo.
Thank you guys for being here with us tonight for our first ever virtual Zoo Ball. I want to thank our chairs, Randy and Sarah Ortwine, for leading us to this night. Also, our auction chair, Peggy Costiel. Thank you so very much for all that you do for our zoo. Also, our after party chairs, Courtney and Zach Harmon. Thank you so very much, guys. I also have to give a huge thank you to our development team here at the Houston Zoo. Big thanks to Ginger Moon, Alex Pugh, Natalie Wynn, and Audrey J. Sudawson for their work on this event. And I have to thank all of you, our viewers at home, who helped us with a record-breaking night tonight. We are just shy of $1.2 million, a record for our Zoo Ball. So please continue to give, continue to bid. The auction will be open until 9 o'clock tonight. And again, thank you so much for joining us at our first ever virtual ball. And again, continue to bid and continue to give. Thank you so much.